Today on the Grill Top Experience, we are making one of my favorite recipes out on the smoker, and that is smoked turkey. The best time to buy whole turkey is when everybody else is already sick of them. In the United States, that's right after Thanksgiving and before Christmas when they all go on sale. So I bought a couple of them and I saved them in my freezer so that way I could have them here in the springtime when turkeys are a lot harder to find. And since things are a little bit crazy with the coronavirus, I'm gonna actually make these into two different dishes. I'm gonna take my favorite part that goes good for smoking for sandwiches, as well as the drumsticks, and I'll smoke those, and the other part I'm gonna turn into turkey noodle soup. You're gonna have to check that video out next week. The weather forecast is calling for a little bit of rain, so I'm going to use my Kamado so that way I don't have to worry about the temperatures and can spend most of the time inside. The trick with Kamado cooking is starting with the right high-quality lump or briquettes that don't produce a lot of ash. I have a hard time lighting this brand, so I added a few that have the K stamped on them to get things going. Light the fire starter and walk away for about 15 minutes to let things fire up. Then I added a couple small chunks of peach wood from my yard for a bit more flavor. Add the Kamado deflector plate to avoid burning the bottom and let everything come up to temperature like you normally would. I set the vents at the beginning of the cook and never touched them again, even during the rain. Butchering the turkey is the hardest part of the whole cook. To remove the breast, just cut to the side of the breastbone and go straight down. I cut between the thigh and the breast to make it a little bit more exposed, and then I cut directly just above the wing for an easy release. After that, make small cuts along the rib cage, falling as close as you can, and you'll see it fold away from the rest of the bird. You might end up leaving a little bit more meat on the bird than you intended, but we're going to put that to good use later when we make our stock. And with a bit of practice, it's going to become second nature. Now, one pro tip, it is 6 bajillion times easier to do this if the turkey is fully thawed. Don't try to do it if it's frozen. Removing the thighs and the drums takes a little bit more finesse. So you follow along the main part of the bird, cutting as close as you can to the inside until you hit the thigh bone. Once you hit it, pull the thigh and the rest of the bird apart to expose the joint, and I'm going to save you from the noise it made. You're going to want to cut right through the joint and not through the bones, and give it a little wiggle and you'll see exactly where everything bends. The wing is pretty much the same process, just cut it in between the joints. I only have a 50% success rate separating the drums and the thighs, but it's the exact same process. You're going to cut through the meat where you think the joint is, and then slice it through once you've exposed and found the joint. I'm using the same knife that I used to trim a brisket because the thin blade moves pretty quickly around the bones, or at least it does once you find the joint. And there it was, we were able to cut it right through. For the drumsticks, I'm using a sweet commercial barbecue rub with a bit of extra black pepper, and I plan to eat these tonight. Now, spoiler alert, I highly recommend the sweet rub with smoked drumsticks. The breasts are a little bit different since these ones are destined for sandwiches. So remove the skin since these are going to cook way too low and slow to make it crispy, and it'll just be rubbery in the end. Then I covered it with my Cajun pepper turkey rub, which gives those sandwiches a bit of a bite. I've left that recipe down in the description box for you if you want to check it out. So I can find drumsticks any time of the year, but it's the breast that I really love, and they come out really nice and juicy when you put them on the smoker this way, and this is pretty much the only way I've been able to find that you can buy them at the store. So let's get it on. I set up the Kamado for 275 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the entire cook. And the breasts go directly over the deflector plate to avoid burning them on the bottom, and the drums are going to go to the edge to help crisp up that skin. Then I left it for an hour and a half or so to get some smoke and color. And boy, did they come out looking purty. Too much smoke and you'll end up with turkey that is dark as night. And these came out looking absolutely perfect. The secret to juicy breasts is to wrap them in foil with some butter. Franklin's recipe calls for 2 full sticks of butter per breast, but I found that a half a stick is more than plenty. I cook them upside down so that way the butter can braise and flavor the meat as it cooks. Wrap it up tight and let them cook until they reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperature. And please don't overcook them. 175 degrees Fahrenheit for the dark meat and 165 Fahrenheit for the breast is the perfect temperature. The genius to this method is each piece comes off when it's cooked, rather than when the last piece is done like you would do for the whole bird. The biggest problem with cooking the whole bird is the breasts will come out dry. You'll end up overcooking them. And that isn't the problem with this method. Now check out the juice that comes out when I cut it. It's not even dipped in the butter left over from the foil yet, which I highly recommend that you do for an extra kick of flavor. So I just have to say, I love turkey sandwiches, especially when it's smoked turkey that I smoked myself along with some avocado and smoked cheese. If you want to check out my next video about turkey noodle soup, I'm going to put it right over here just as soon as it's done.